Many people ask how I spend my weekends. Well, usually it's working, but this weekend I've been working on studying the files that were hacked from Yandex. Now, for those who don't know, Yandex is a Google clone search engine, um, and it's big in Russia. A lot of people who search in Russian language use it. A lot of people who search in English in Russia use it. But a lot of people out of Russia use it as well. Now, 2 days ago, I think if I'm correct, a couple of documents were leaked uh, from Yandex, and basically they are source code documents for the search engine. Now there's like 44 GB or more documents and source code and stuff like that that was leaked, which is not of any interest to an SEO except for the document that goes into the ranking factors. Now, for those who are saying, it's Yandex and it's not Google and it's not something where we should worry about and we should not focus around about, a lot of what ranks in Google also ranks in Yandex, and a lot of the people that are working for Google, hopped on over to Yandex. So many of the people that were working for Yandex also hopped on to Google, and Yandex was one of the first to implement the YMYL update a few years ago when Google did not. So Yandex is definitely a search engine worth looking into. And now, even though you don't want to rank in Yandex, knowing the ranking factors will help you rank in Google, which is why I've got my coffee here. You can see. So I've got my coffee here, and I spent all night looking at the ranking factors and making notes. Now I'm only 30% into the hacked documents, and there are loads of stuff that I've run into. But in this video, I'll just talk about the ranking factors that I think most people should know about when they're trying to rank their website, and which I think is common to both Yandex and Google. So if you're trying to rank on Google, these ranking factors matter to you, and now we know for sure that these are ranking factors that are important, and we're not guessing anymore. And there can't be no naysayers that say no. I mean, Google can't look at bounce rates and stuff like that, because Google can, and Yandex can, and Yandex is supposedly not such an advanced search engine to begin with. But if Google can and Yandex can, then you should be using these ranking factors to your advantage. So start talking about it. And before I do, guys, I do SEO for a living. If you're looking for someone to do SEO for you, there's a link in the description. Click on the link, fill out the form, and someone from my team will get in touch with you. Usually it's my VA who makes first contact. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, so theoretically, what's the difference between Yandex and Google? Well, they're both using RankBrain. They're both using PageRank. They're both using what's called MatrixNet. So the first ranking factor, and this comes as a little bit of a surprise to me, is that the age of the links matter. And for Yandex it matters, and now that I think about it, it matters for Google as well. If you look at the code over here, and this is taken directly from the JSON file, it says average age of links that contributed something to LR, that's link age, is equal to minimum log average. So 711 is taken as 3 years. So if your link is between 3 and 7 years old, it's going to have more value. Your backlink, by the way, if your backlink is between 3 and 7 years old, it's going to have more value than a link that was created, let's say, a year ago. So that's a surprising ranking factor, because for that, you would have to think that Google is, or even Yandex in this case, is using processing power to know and to record the age of the links. And so with every link, they're recording a date, a start date, and that's surprising because there's a lot of data to be looking into. But traffic and the percentage of organic traffic are a ranking factor. So basically this means that buying PPCFX rankings, and I've been saying this, I've been telling this to my clients, and I maybe said this in one of my videos. If if you're ranking for, if you're on the fourth page for a keyword that you want to target, and you run a PPC campaign, and even if it's for a unrelated keyword but for the same website, you will see that gradually that keyword will improve in rankings. And that's because Yandex, like Google, and I've not tried this on Yandex, but I've tried this on Google, and I've seen rankings improve to the extent that they've gone. So some keywords have gone from page 3 right up to page 1, and right to the up to the top of page 1. And so when I see keywords that are just shooting up and with no active SEO campaign, I usually look at if they were running a PPC campaign, and there's a correlation in many cases, not in all cases, but in many cases, between the PPC campaign from when it starts to when those keywords start ranking, and then when the campaign stops and the keyword begins to decline. And so there's a correlation between that. What I like to say for this one is that basically this means that if you're buying PPC, it will affect your rankings. So there are no numbers. If you look at this, it says description, there are no numbers in the URL, Melton. So what this means is that if you have numbers in your URL, Yandex will not consider your website as authoritative perhaps, or rank worthy perhaps, as one that has a descriptive keyword in it. So if your website is www.yourwebsite.com/new age, so that's better than having yourwebsite.com/1 2 3 4 5. And so I can't say I've seen the same for Google, but it might need to be looked into more. I mean, now that this is out, I would definitely love to try and test this out with Google. The next one is having a lot of slashes in your URL. So a slash is basically a new subdomain or maybe a new category. So slash cars, slash parts, slash tires, slash Michelin tires. And so the more slashes you have going into the page, as you go into the page, the longer the URL, and thus in this case it's bad for ranking. So if you're trying to rank for tires, it shouldn't be so deeply embedded in your website. Your blog probably just be a first level or a second level page, which is something I talked about in one of my older videos, because it's the same thing with Google. If you're trying to rank a page on Google, this is a ranking factor, but Google has always denied it, or has not been very upfront about it. But with Yandex, we're saying that the code shows that this is certainly something that you should be mindful of. All right, so the next ranking factor is host reliability. And so many people have been fighting me on this with what I was talking about, that if you have more 404s on your page, or you have more 401s on your page, or you have more 50XX on your page, so more 50 errors, in other words, on your page, the harder it will be for your website to rank overall. And so if you want to rank your website, one of the first things you should do is you should run Screaming Frog. I have a tutorial on Screaming Frog. One of my older videos is on Screaming Frog and how to do this, is to run Screaming Frog to find these errors and to fix them. That should be your first step, your technical SEO. This is part of your technical SEO. And now this is confirmed. The other fun fact here is that there is a separate ranking factor for Wikipedia. So Wikipedia is given special preference with Yandex. And so, if you were trying to compete against Wikipedia for information, Yandex will prefer Wikipedia over your website. And I've seen this in some niches on Google as well. So if you see Wikipedia on the top page that you're trying to rank for, it's number 1. And Google is Wikipedia, and then there are other websites that Google by default will rank on number 1 or number 2 or number 3. So if you see that, you know that it's the intent here is informational, and so that makes it easier, but also makes it harder because you can't really outdo these top ranking websites, which we always suspected, but now we have code for this. So a lot of the ranking factors that we've looked at also have something to do with user behavior. So CTR, and this is something we found out as SEOs. So last click time, last click, so time on site, bounce rate. So you've got three factors here within this one factor. You've got CTR, so click-through rate. You've got time on site, so the amount of time someone would spend on your website, and then you've got bounce rate. The two are related, but they're also different at the same time. So I'm 100% sure that Yandex, these ranking factors impact much more on Google than they do on Yandex. So yes, so with Google, bounce rate and click-through rate are two very important factors, which I know for sure that will affect your rankings. But a lot of people have fought me on this as well, and they're more important, I would argue, on Google than they are on Yandex. And it's in the code over here. If you are a coder, you can understand this. So people who do CTR manipulation are in fact aware of this ranking factor, and I've done CTR manipulation. The problem with CTR manipulation is that it's not very foolproof, and you can do it wrong, and if you do it wrong, the algorithm detects you, and if the algorithm detects you, you get penalized. So you don't want to do a lot of it. The next one is document age and the last update. Both are ranking factors. So how old was your published page, or is your published page, and when was it last updated? So again, this is something I tell people: if you have a very old page that's 6, 7, 8 years old, especially if it's a news site, don't necessarily delete the page. If what you can do is you can just update it. So if you have a page, if you're a news site and you covered the previous World Cup, now instead of deleting that page and redirecting it to a new page that talks about the latest World Cup, maybe update that page to talk about the latest World Cup, and then have a link from it to a page that has more details about it. So that will be a better approach, instead of just deleting the page or 401 and redirecting it, because then you're, in my opinion, it's something that the crawler will run into if it sees a redirect, and it gives you a minus point. If, for lack of a better word, you get a minus point. Not the best approach. If this is something I talk about a lot when I'm doing client SEO, is I tell them, if we can save the page, we'll save the page. It's only 301 redirect, or 401, or any of those things are a last resort if you can't save the page. So again, now it's in stone. It says here, document creation time accurate to a month, current month 0 to 10 years ago and older. So the older your document, the better it is. But also, if it's been updated over the years, then that's even better. So if it's received an update over the past 10 years, so 10 updates over the years, so every year it's an updated document, that's even better. If you've added to it, then that's even better. And this is something we already knew, but a lot of people have been fighting me on this, but this is now in code. Then we have average domain position across all queries is a ranking factor. Yes, now this is a ranking factor also in Google, because I see a lot of people saying, okay, so SEO said, why not target 100 keywords? They're all related. They're all loosely related. But the problem is that if you're targeting 100 keywords and 94% of those keywords are on page 5, the ones that are even highly optimized for will not necessarily make it to page 1. You might make it to page 2, but because your backend is so low, or your tail end keywords are so low on rankings, you might not be able to lift them up. And so before you come up with a keyword plan, you must know how difficult it is to target those keywords, and if they're even directly relevant to what you're doing. So in this case, if you're going to target keywords that are loosely related to your niche, make sure that they are easy keywords, so that when those start ranking, and this you can use to your advantage, when those start ranking, your otherwise hard to rank keywords will start ranking along with them, because it will raise those keywords with them. And this works for Google as well. And so when we have a very hard niche to rank, we usually try to find the easiest keywords around that niche, and then we would rank those keywords, and automatically the harder keywords will become easier to rank over time. And again, even if those keywords are not receiving a lot of traffic, simply them ranking is good enough for us. So, okay, so quality of content. Now, I've talked about this on so many of my videos, and so many people say we just do AI generated content, we copy and paste content, we do this, but it's in the code. So Yandex has this in the code. It says the quality rank of text on the domain is a ranking factor. So pages with low quality content affect the entire domain. So even if you have 100 great pages, well-written pages, but you have 20 AI generated pages, low quality content, it's going to drag down those 100 pages. And this is now a ranking factor with Google. It was not 2 years ago, but it's now with the latest string of spam updates. It has now become a ranking factor with Google. And this is something that you need to watch out for. You need people who have large websites especially should go into the website and they should see which pages on the website are low quality, low value, thin content pages. Address those, fix those pages. Do not delete them. Fix those pages and try to make sure that those pages link to other related pages so that those are not orphan pages and this is another ranking factor. But this is something that you should do. And if you're not doing this, you're losing out big time. And now we have this in code. For all the affiliate marketers and for everyone that does Google AdSense on their website and for people who do Exonic on their websites, I know people try to do as many ads as they can on the pages because then they get paid more money. But in the case of Google and Yandex, the amount of advertisements on the page is actually a ranking factor. So the more advertising you have on the page, the less valuable the search engine sees that it is. And eventually what happens if you have too many, it will actually have a negative impact on your page. But if you have beyond like 3 or 4 ads on the page, which even 3 or 4 is a lot in some cases, in some niches, then your page is seen as spammy and you will actually lose rankings because of it. So be mindful of that. The next one is this one is kind of funny, is because they've got a random number generator or randomization in their algorithm. So if you can't understand why a page is a number 1, a number 2, or number 3, it's probably because it's been randomly picked and put on there. And this is in the code. Now I'm not sure if Google does this, but I'm pretty sure that Google has something similar. Because I see a lot of pages that shouldn't be on the number 1 spot, but they are there, and it's just like a roulette table where it's just there because it has good luck. So it's funny, but it's true. You can do as much SEO as you like, but random factor for commercial websites. But that's pretty much it. So the good thing is it's not for informational websites, it's for commercial websites. So take it for what it is. I think Google does this for all websites, but take it for what it is. Okay, so Yandex has JS from Google Analytics is a ranking factor. So good websites using GA more often than bad websites. So what Yandex has seen is that websites that have Google Analytics are trustworthy websites as compared to ones that are not. And so they put this in the code that if a page has Google Analytics, it should get a plus point. And it's interesting because a lot of low quality websites also have Google Analytics installed on their websites. But I think if this is a ranking factor for Yandex, it might probably not be a ranking factor for Google, because Google already can see a lot of what's going on your website once you install their code. And so probably not a ranking factor for Google, but definitely for Yandex. And then you have also, if you get backlinks from the top 100 best websites by PageRank, that impacts your rankings too. Something that's not news because obviously link quality is always something. It says in the description here is quality link from a good site's estimation. Now, Google's emphasis on links have decreased, at least they've announced it, but if you're getting a really high quality link, that will always have value. And I think if in this case, if it's from the top 100 best websites by PageRank, so the website has a very good PageRank, or in Google's case, or maybe even if you call it a DA or a PA or whatever, if it's high impact, it will have a positive impact on your website. Something we've already known, but now we're seeing this with in the code. I'm still looking at the code. I'm still studying the code. This is just my first video. I just wanted you guys to see what's going on and how this is going to affect your SEO moving forward. There's a lot of stuff that I've still not dug into, but I'm going through I'm going through everything, and then once this is, I'm going to have a second video about this if you guys are interested, and I'm going to talk more about these ranking factors, the ones that I've not talked about in this video. You watch my video on Screaming Frog, and I'll have more videos on Screaming Frog, because as you can see from these ranking factors, if you want to do technical SEO, you should know how to use Screaming Frog. So guys, that's it for this video. I'm still digging through the ranking factors, and I'll make another video and I'll talk more about some of the factors that I've run into as I dig into the document. Make sure that you've subscribed to my channel if you've not already. Leave a comment if you have a question.